we're back.
We are going to be back. And today we do have a guest speaker here today.
We have a speaker who is a guest. He's not normally on this show, but he's going to be here today.
Hello, folks of the 156 podcast. Today, I'm honored to join my two wonderful hosts, Lucke and Ryan Musazida, and they were gracious enough to, invite me to this delightful abode of theirs. And
Very delightful.
And it's going to be an abode.
And it is.
And I'm truly honored. There's not much I can say, but I'm truly honored to have some fine water with a fine cup in front of me.
And it's going to be Mountain Valley water for those of you guys who did not pay attention to that.
It's going to be the 1867th bottle left, so.
As there was some bottles used in previous videos, along with bottles seen out in public. So we're just glad to see Mountain Valley out and about in the world right now, you know?
And he's been about and out.
They've been on their feet a lot.
Yeah.
They've been really, really active in the world.
And how active are we going to be talking?
Pretty active. I'd say, precisely active.
Now, on a scale of 1 to 8.
How precise?
Sorry, I'm just sipping on this delightful cup of water.
Yeah.
I think we're at a 7.7 out of 8.
7.7.
7.7 out of 8.
It's a great number.
7.7, it matches the number.
And it's going to be that kind of 7-7.
Yeah, it's going to be, the mess around and find out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that 7.7 can be used because you have, it's just, there's not much I can say, it really matches.
Are we talking about ways like WAYS or ways like the app?
Now that you mention it, 77 miles, 77 minutes.
So there are a lot of ways on Waze.
There are a lot of ways on Waze.
Because Waze has Waze. Everyone knows that Waze has Waze, and Waze's Waze did use the Waze. So what he kind of brought into there is going to be pretty strong.
It's going to be strong.
Absolutely.
It's going to be stronger than a lot of other stuff in this world.
I mean, for sure, when you kind of look at the juxtaposition of it, then you'll kind of see how strong the criterion kind of matches over to the Mountain Valley waters. So
I agree with you, yeah. 100%, yeah. So why don't we just get straight into it, huh? So we are on episode 4 of the podcast here today.
The 4th episode.
You guys did mention that.
And it's gonna be that big 1 after 3, 1 before 5 podcast. It's just gonna
right
be
in the middle.
It's just gonna be yeah. And I mean it's just great that we're able to be filming right now. And I mean I think you guys heard about the suspension for Big Mike from the last episode. That's why our friend Mr. Andrew doesn't have Big Mike with him. He has Big Michelle right here.
Oh, this is Big Michelle.
This is Big Michelle, yeah. It's going to be Big Mike's substitute for the day.
And Big Michelle had a fantastic scouting report.
Great.
Our question for you guys, are Mike and Michelle related in any ways? Or
Not related. Not related.
Not direct.
Not related. Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not related.
But does this Michelle have a last name? Because I know Michelle Obama.
Oh, Michelle's going to be the last name.
Michelle's
Big is going to be that first name.
Big Michelle. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've never heard of the last name Michelle, but now that you use it definitely is an appealing last name to me.
It's going to be a last name, yeah.
And how do we feel about last names? It really defines you.
Important.
And it's going to be one of those names. And it may be last.
Not first, not middle. It's going to be last.
I mean, not
It's
necessarily.
called a last name for
Because some people have 2 last names.
It's going to be that last.
When someone has 2 last names, which last name is first?
The
last one.
The last one.
But in some cases, for example, I'm going to use an example of a front runner for MVP this year, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hyphenated. He
It's
has
hyphenated.
the hyphen.
He has that
And the hyphen plays a huge role.
And the hyphen does play as the subtraction player
yeah.
in the math league, but great to see him playing in multiple leagues.
Especially at a high level too. He's been performing.
In that spelling league and in that math league, I mean, we could not go a day without either of those in either league.
I mean, with the language arts and the arithmetic, that the hyphen does really know his role.
Yeah, and his jargon is just unmatched.
It plays a very elegant role. You see a hyphen in a name, even an accent in a name, but in this case, we're talking about hyphens, and it literally sets them apart, but it really does its job and does justice to the person's name and the last name.
And he does his due diligence.
Oh, for sure.
And the due diligence is done. Because kind of with the...
And it's done by hyphen, correct?
I mean, kind of, yeah, with the dichotomy of how hyphen does work, you kind of see how it's used in multiple different retrospects and kind of does tie it all back in together, especially both names being tied together.
And I appreciate that. It's gonna segment us into the NBA. How we did get the hyphenated in Gilgeous-Alexander. Why don't we just talk about the NBA for a little bit? And I mean, the Thunder with superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have been one of the strongest, if not the strongest team in the league. So why don't we just speak about that for a second? What are your thoughts, Andrew?
You know, they have a record of 47-10 this year, and they've been on a roll. They were
And how many games have they won?
47.
Thank you.
Great number. Great number.
And
There's more to be played.
not to kind of interrupt you here, just for our viewers, can you explain what 47-10 would mean?
So 47-10 means that they are 37 games over 500 because 47 minus 10 is 37. For all my mathematicians out there.
Oh yeah, why don't you pull
We
up the
have a
calculator
calculator
and
as
check
well.
it out, please.
47. So 47 minus 10 is going to be 37. You said square root?
No square root. We're not quite on that level of math yet. Maybe we can progress to that later. but
Would you say that's beyond the scope of this podcast?
I think so for today, but you never know. You never know what can be in store, what might arise.
And do they sell it in the store? Is it
No.
sold in the store?
No, it's sold
It's
internally.
Internally.
I got 1588.847381. So what is it? It's going to be the plus minus or?
No.
It's gonna. I think that's gonna be one of the numbers that you got out of the calculator. So
You know, they're 47-10 because they have 47 wins and 10 losses, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
any ties? No ties?
No ties, you know, in the NBA, there's not really such a thing as ties.
I mean,
We're
kind
playing
of
in the big leagues.
The formality, you know, the players used to wear the ties. You would see them coming through the
did.
locker room
They
wearing the
did.
tie. They don't wear the ties anymore.
No.
Speaking of the Thunder,
absolutely.
you have one of the league's most fashionable teams. None of
Aura.
them really wear ties.
Or
You have Jalen Williams.
I'm so sorry to interrupt
No,
you,
you're good.
Mr. Andrew, special guest. Guys, make sure to leave some love down in the comments. But I don't know why you're bringing Aura into this. Why are you like so negatively throwing around his name like that? I
do you
don't
have a
appreciate
problem
it.
with him personally?
I don't have a problem with him personally, but I don't like it when you're just like throwing around his name like that. Like, I don't think he wanted to be brought up in the podcast.
Well, he actually did tell me that he wanted to be brought up.
And
on the
do you
podcast.
have do you have a receipt for that?
Absolutely.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Let's see here?
Does it have the transaction cost and everything like that too, or
I'm getting the receipt.
are you just flattling with me?
I'm getting the receipt.
And Andrew, why don't you? I see. Very interesting. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll accept the apology.
And I appreciate the acceptance of my apology. And I think that's a big part of just like apologies as a whole, because like you gotta accept them. You know what I mean?
It's hard. Some people's personalities, you know, really cannot accept an apology. There's too much pride. There's too much. Just that they can't let go of their dignity.
And in the words of famous quadruple platinum rapper J. Cole, pride is the devil.
J. Cole did say that on his 2021 album, The Off Season. He in fact did say that. Shout out Moose for referencing my favorite
Song with J. Cole featuring Lil Baby.
And you mentioned it's gonna be your favorite artist.
Yeah.
J. Cole's your favorite
J. Cole's my
artist.
favorite artist.
Okay, now how do you feel about Keith Haring?
Keith Haring. I'm not familiar. Who's that?
He's gonna be one of those artists.
He was a graffiti artist.
So are we talking about? He's gonna be.
I'm sorry.
That's so stupid.
Fuck.
Let's keep it up. Keep it going. We're good.
Keith Haring. Okay.
Do you actually not know who Keith Haring
No.
is? No, you've definitely seen
He's
his
a
work.
graffiti
though.
artist. Like he did like graffiti art and
No.
thing.
Fuck this
In
guy.
like the.
I think he killed himself too, but
Keith
like
Haring.
all this.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I have heard of Keith Haring.
Okay, yeah. Why don't? Okay. All right. So Michelle's not performing, right?
Michelle. and Michelle hasn't been performing.
Michelle's not performing, and it's a shame. I mean, there's a reason why she was on the bench for Big Mike, but Michelle is not performing.
I mean, this is her first mess up. We'll give her some more chances.
And she doesn't need an address yet. She does not need that P.O. box, backwards O.P. box yet. But she will need it soon if she does decide to mess up again. And sort of just like the etymology of that will just like not sit correctly in her stomach.
I mean, absolutely, and just kind of tying back to what you were saying there, with the etymology, when you kind of break that down to syllables, etymology, it's going to be one of those 5-syllable words. I mean that when you count 5 times 5, you get the 25, which kind of ties in the words, especially with the syllables, to kind of not have the run-on sentence there.
Thank you.
That's a great point.
So why don't we continue on the NBA? why don't we continue on that? I have a question for our special guest, Mr. Andrew here.
Yes, sir. How are we feeling?
Who would you say are your 3 front runners for the NBA Finals?
You know, that's a great question. I think you have to put Boston there. You have to show them the respect as much as
in Boston.
You have to. They just
Boston-
won. They just won last year.
Boston did just win the NBA
they
championship. a
did.
year
So I have
ago.
to give them the respect as much as I don't like the team. And I'm really struggling to put the Cavs there. The Cavs, they're a young team, but they're a loaded team.
And where do the Cavs play? Just for
They
clarity
play in
for our
Cleveland,
audience.
in Cleveland, as Joakim Noah says. What did he say? Remind me.
What did he say?
Joakim Noah.
And what did
Joakim
he
Noah
say?
And what did he say?
But
It was
what
a
did
lot.
he say?
What
Joakim
did he say?
Joakim said a lot.
He did.
And he said some words.
He said, "Who wants to go to Cleveland?"
And those words did come out of his mouth.
But who did want to go to Cleveland?
I don't think anyone. I mean, LeBron was born there. It wasn't really a choice.
I mean,
But Cleveland's a rough place, and
it is.
it pains me to even put them in my top 3 contenders. But I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to show them the respect sooner or later. And then the last team I'm gonna put is, I want to put my Lakers, but I'm gonna hold off on that until I see some more of us with Lucke and LeBron. But so far we're trending in the right direction. But I'm gonna put the Thunder there for now, and show the 47-10 team, the team that's 37 games over 500,
Yes.
their respect. You know?
But you kind of said you hesitated because of Luka, but LeBron finally got his big. Like, him and Luka Garza have been playing phenomenally well in the pick and roll game. I really think that team could go far. You have a player's experience as LeBron, 41 years old, 40 years old. He's been, 10 finals. He has the most finals appearances since 1990.
And he's deserved, so many MVPs.
So many and finals MVPs, he has those, but Lucke Garza doesn't have any of those. He
And
doesn't have
and
MVP for
actually,
MVPs.
I would just like to touch up on LeBron James deserving more MVPs. I mean, we're talking about 2001 when Allen Iverson won MVP.
And Allen Iverson didn't deserve that MVP.
LeBron
LeBron put up
deserved
better
it.
stats in that high school league.
LeBron deserved the MVP that year.
for his tremendous performances at St. Mary's, really.
He deserved the MVP.
He did.
He
The
deserved.
MVP was deserved.
He deserved that.
And he needed the dessert.
LeBron was already an array of sunshine. He was an array of just positivity, and positivity is really what you need to win these awards, because the NBA doesn't like toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Why don't you
And
describe
could
that
Yeah,
term?
could you define that term for us?
Some stars have toxic masculinity, and they're really just self-centered, and the NBA doesn't like that. The NBA wants a face who's really, about the fans, about his family, about his kids, his kids. But at times,
How does Kevin
family
Porter
and family
Jr.
and
kind of
kids.
tie into that?
Kevin Porter Jr. is a rough case we have, because he has not shown ways to be masculine in his criminal history.
And we are gonna have to serve those papers, so Michelle is gonna need the address at this point.
She's gonna need that address. She's gonna need that PO box, so we can UPS, Amazon, FedEx deliver
DHL
any of those delivery platforms to
on track.
any AliExpress.
And
DHK.
kind of tying back into Kevin Porter, as you were saying, Mr. Jr.
Kevin Porter Jr., to piggyback off what you said, he really hasn't delivered much in his NBA career. Not only on the court, but off the court, he's had some
Criminal history.
criminal
Yes.
history, and it's not something to be taken that should be taken lightly. And I think he should face repercussions for his actions. We don't take those stuff seriously.
Of course.
I can speak for myself, but I'm also going to speak for my fellow guests, co-hosts, hosts. Excuse me for the misinterpretation.
Yeah,
of two wonderful hosts, right?
And
here.
it's okay. It's okay. We forgive you.
Kevin Porter Jr. really just doesn't represent the toxic masculinity, and he does represent it. Actually, excuse my language. He does represent it. He is not masculine, and then in his masculinity, he shows toxicity in it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's gonna kind of be off the court too. A lot of these guys so talented. Miles Bridges, I think he caught about 65 felony charges. So
John Morant.
I mean, but
Deshaun-
John Morant's kind of a different case.
Deshaun Watson.
Justin
Justin
Watson.
Tucker.
I'm pretty sure John
Justin
Morant.
Tucker's a recent one
Justin
that's
Tucker is a
really
recent
taken
one.
the football world by storm. And,
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer wasn't very, I guess you could say, was criminal, but he was just was enjoying.
Baker Mayfield.
What did Baker Mayfield?
At-
Try.
at-
Oh,
at-
didn't he steal something from the
At
supermarket?
the cheesecakes, he was up to mischievous activities at
Wait,
Cheesecake Factory.
Wait, no, who stole something from? Oh, Jameis Winston stole crab legs.
That's just very James.
And that just has Jameis Winston's flavor
written
all
all over it, you know.
all over it. It just has his saliva just like in and out of it, you know.
And it was in the crab legs.
And, you know, I was in very close proximity with Jameis Winston about almost a year ago. It was last April. And
Mr. Winston?
Mr. Winston himself, Jameis Winston, was when he was playing for the New Orleans Saints. I was leaving a weekend that I had spent in New Orleans, and it was a great time. And I was wondering what could make this experience that I had in New Orleans even better. And all of a sudden, as I'm leaving the car with my suitcase, I see this fellow, amazing character, quarterback, charismatic, family-oriented man, ambiguous, outstanding, refractory, and that's a great word. And I saw him, and my mind was blown because Jameis Winston is a national treasure in America.
He is a treasure that spreads across the nation. And
fantastic way to regurgitate what he said.
And do we need more Mountain Valley? We're looking at an empty bottle here.
You know what? I can finish this bottle off just very.
And why don't you finish that? And while Mr. Special Guest Andrew finishes this water, I will go just grab another bottle, and we will go on.
And how was that weekend in New Orleans?
Oh, magnificent, stupendous.
And how long was that 4-week day in?
I wouldn't call it a 4-week day, and we're gonna remove this and add this.
Just slide this in. And sorry, just because we didn't mention it earlier, if you use code 156 at checkout on Mountain Valley, you will get 0% off and a $5 surcharge.
Yeah, there's going to be a few tariffs, a few upcharges. It kind of helps keep our podcast running.
Yeah, right?
So
yeah, it's just like to support the pod if you guys would like to do that.
And spread the word. There's many ways you can spread the word.
Word of mouth.
And the bird is going to be the word.
But the early bird gets the worm.
And the worm is got by the early bird, and that's why he gets money more than that bird early late.
But how do we kind of define between the bird and the early?
I don't think that's going to be possible.
The birds are up early.
How early are the birds?
Pretty early. They don't sleep, if I believe so.
Do birds not sleep?
I don't think birds
They don't sleep?
I don't think birds sleep.
And do you have a scientific study to back this up?
It's just my common knowledge that
I
don't
appreciate
hear
that.
birds ever stop chirping, you know?
And I appreciate
And
that.
let's say I'm out one night, late at night.
And
I see a bird flying in my rear view, my peripheral vision.
And that does.
What about the other birds sleeping?
I'm sure there's some breeds of birds that sleep, but I'm not thinking that the wild birds we have escaping and fluctuating and you know really enjoying what our sky has to offer and what our air has to offer. I don't think they really settle down much.
And are you familiar with Charles Darwin's quote?
No, I'm not really a big biology
about
guy.
about the finches on the Galapagos
Matter
Islands.
of fact, I failed biology. I'm pretty sure. So
Well, the quote was,
Sorry, I'm just gonna
whenever a bird sleeps, another bird doesn't sleep. That was the quote.
It's kind of like that old saying, when one door closes, another door opens.
Jinx. And we had some ruckus going on.
There is going to be some traffic. This is like some...
If you don't mind me not closing the bottle
of course, please.
handing the Mountain Valley open.
And if I could get a little bit of a
Of course, and folks, remember to use 156 at checkout. Just trying to spread the word for my amazing hosts who are so gracious enough to host me on this. You know, it's a pretty nice day, but you know, it's getting gloomy outside.
And it's gonna be one of those days.
And it's gonna be a nice one.
And it's going to be one of those nice days, arguably. And
are we gonna argue that?
And I don't think the argument will be made by some of the outlooking audience on different levels of the spectrum.
The spectrum.
The spectrum, yes. Spectrum Internet.
Spectrum Sports.
Spectrum Sports Network.
The Lakers
Los Angeles Lakers. It's home of
the spectrum. Names. I mean, like we got like Los Angeles on this side of the spectrum, and then on the complete opposite side, we got like Atlanta on the spectrum.
Two very different states.
Galveston, South Carolina.
And then you have another one is North Dakota, Idaho, and specifically in Idaho, one that's on the very opposing spectrum of Los Angeles is Boise, Idaho. You know, it has the city but it's rural, it's suburby,
It's going to be sort of like that Boise, Idaho. I love it every time that I go.
Oh, that was really clever. And I have always wanted to visit Boise, Idaho. I've driven through Idaho very briefly once.
Now-
But that was just a gateway to come back to LA.
Regarding Idaho, one of those 50 states or in 48 states in the continuous United
I
States,
think it's pronounced contiguous.
contiguous. I just would like to ask you, and this is going to be one of the pod questions from my good friend, Mr. Tristan. How many times would Idaho need to be brought up in order for you to be deathly terrified?
And this is going to be in a 24-hour period. You didn't specify.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In a 24-hour period, someone can mention Idaho all they want to me. Just as long as whenever I'm not sleeping, I want to sleep in peace.
And let's say you were having a conversation with Big Mike, and Big Mike mentions Idaho. Then you go swing over by to Big Michelle's house, and she mentions Idaho.
No problem.
And then you go home, and then your mother mentions Idaho. You head to school, your teacher mentions Idaho.
At some point I think I'd get frustrated, like I'd love to talk about something else, but my feeling of that isn't a reflection on Idaho.
Would you ever be scared for your life in this situation?
If something terrible was going on in Idaho, but if it's simply out of just the concern of wanting to spread Idaho out on the map, because Idaho really is a niche state that
And
not
he
many
does need to
people
be
go to.
patronized.
And it needs to be patronized, recognized, and Idaho has great scenery, great skiing, if I believe, great biking.
And you may believe, yeah.
It's great for everything, and I can never get sick of hearing it. And hearing it just lightens up my day, as my day is already lightened up by this lovely room and lights that we have here.
And it's going to be kind of when those birds start chirping about Idaho as you're attempting to sleep. I think that's where I'd kind of draw the line. Like, the line doesn't have to be drawn. I can kind of define it internally. But if I did want to draw the line, it'd have to be on a piece of paper or something of that nature.
And at what 2 points would this line meet?
It would mean at 0, 0.
0, 0, you would say?
Yeah.
I was thinking around 2, 2, but 0, 0 works as well.
But you kind of were thinking more two-dimensional with the X and Y plane. You kind of didn't factor in Z. So if
You didn't factor in Z either.
2, 2, 2.
0, 0, 0.
And Z is, we can talk all day about Z.
We could talk all day.
I don't think we're going
And
to.
a whole day could be spent speaking about the accomplishments of Z. He is going to be that closing letter.
That 26th letter.
In the aforementioned alphabet.
Bet?
Bet.
And
Bet of the alpha.
Z, you're playing a game. You don't really hear the word Z mentioned much, but whenever
Xylophone?
whenever Z is mentioned,
And-
how often do you hear the word xylophone?
And
Not very
just
often.
for clarification for the audience, xylophone does start with that X.
Xy, not Xy.
Oh, I knew that, but I was just kind of saying xylophone.
But that doesn't speak to the word Z and its importance.
Zoe.
But Z,
Xander.
Z, you guys aren't getting my point. There's names that are called Z, but Z isn't a word to describe, isn't a letter used to describe adjectives.
Are we mentioning the letter Z right now, or are we mentioning kind of the pronoun Zer?
We can focus on the pronoun, but right now I'm focusing on the importance of the letter Z.
I
because
appreciate you.
I really want to give Z its recognition and the love it so deserves, because I do see Z retiring soon, because if we don't give it the recognition it deserves, I see Z just flat out feeling tormented.
And he will be tormented.
Feeling a sense of
And
discomfort.
does he deserve flowers?
I think the Z does deserve flowers.
What
I think
kind of flowers?
What kind of flowers?
I think it deserves some sunflowers.
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 Because
Mmm.
I want
You
to
get
see.
Oh, flow? ERS?
Yeah, kind of like the sun flow ERS.
But the flow sun, it depends on the type of flowers. If we're going to be going, kind of roses, dandelions, that I understand. But for a guy like Z, I think he needs those types of flowers.
Those sunflower
And
ERS.
I think the sunflower ERS, they give you that retirement tour and trip that Z so desperately needs.
For sure. He needs his farewell tour.
Oh, he needs his farewell tour. We've seen the likes of LeBron, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce,
Dirk Nowitzki,
Dwayne Wade. We've seen those likes.
Udonis Haslem.
Udonis Haslem had an incredible.
Tim Duncan.
Incredible. I want to focus on
COVID-19.
Udonis Haslem for his commendable contributions to the league and his hustle, his determination, and I think Z deserves that recognition so desperately and so wholesomely.
Absolutely.
Ice Tray. Would you consider him in that same sort of category?
I think Ice Tray could get there. I don't think it's quite there, but I think it's still a young prospect.
And quite speaking about Ice Tray, why don't we speak about a little draft that we would do here? The Ice Draft. Why don't we speak about that?
We can speak about the ice draft.
And why who got the first pick last time?
Honestly, just given the fact that I can't exactly point my finger on it, what I am going to go ahead and do is just kind of let Andrew get the first pick here, given that he is going to be the guest.
And are we going to go clockwise or counterclockwise?
Up to you guys. I'm more of a snake.
I mean, it just depends the way the clock moves. Which way does the clock move?
Clockwise.
I mean, I think it's better we just go clockwise.
Let's go clockwise.
Let's go clockwise then.
I appreciate my hosts letting me, people who are hosting me.
So Andrew, why don't you go with that
Let me
aforementioned
get
first pick, please?
And with my first pick, I'm gonna go with a type of ice that isn't really seen on Earth, isn't really seen by many a lot of the times, But the reason I'm gonna pick this one is because I really want it to get the recognition it deserves and for it to be put on the map more and to be more of a normalized item in our everyday lives. And with that being said, with the first pick in the ice draft of the 156 podcast, I'm going to select the iceberg because the iceberg is something that we only see in Antarctica.
Wow.
In Alaska.
They've been melting.
Wow.
They've been melting, which is why I want to keep them alive and give them the recognition that they deserve, because then I can get the national authorities, the weather authorities.
He's been melting under the heat of the universe.
And some people
kind
have
of
been
the heat-
saying...
literally has been melting as a double entendre. You mentioned heat of the universe. The heat of the universe has
And
been
some people
increasing.
have been saying it's more of a DEI thing. How do you kind of respond to that?
DEI defined diversity, equity, inclusion.
I think it can be seen as that to many.
And how many?
Some.
By many.
By many.
Too many.
Too many.
No,
Many,
but it's
some.
Too many.
Too many.
Excuse me.
Too many. Too.
Too many to count. But we're going back to the iceberg. I really think it has been struggling as of late. It used to be popping.
He's one of those guys.
It used to be, the iceberg used to be at the top of its game, but now it's become more of a niche.
The iceberg used to be
for us.
The iceberg used to be at the top of the iceberg, and kind of now, especially with the climate change,
He sort of doesn't have that top.
It doesn't have that it factor anymore.
It's still gonna be the berg. It's still ice, but is he at the top?
He's
I
not.
don't know
I
if we
don't
can
know.
really define
I
this.
want to bring it back, which is why I'm picking the iceberg to be my first pick in the ice
To
draft.
kind of start that rebuild there.
To
That's
start that
gonna be-
rebuild,
that's gonna be a good
investing-
pick.
I'm investing in the ice and
And,
the
and how
iceberg.
many stocks did he have?
How many stocks? How many investments?
steals and blocks. He had around 11.
He had
11
11
stocks.
investments.
11 investments. Because
Investments.
I have some investors who are looking at
11 investments in itself.
and the iceberg.
That's great. That's great. Now, I think that was a phenomenal pick by Andrew. Maybe not the route I would have gone with, but it was still a great pick nonetheless. Now, with my first pick, I am just going to pick that iced water guy.
Iced water.
He is an incredible player. He's a player that gets playing time day in and day out. Whether it's 3 a.m. and you just need that little iced water in the middle of the night, or if it's, 3 p.m. after basketball practice and you need that sort of iced water to quench your
Great
thirst.
choice. Great choice. Superb.
Fantastic.
And it's going to be one of those choices that I have made in the drafts of this sort of like podcast type of thing. And, I did make that selection, so I do appreciate you recognizing.
And I appreciate you recognizing us, recognizing Andrew, recognizing you. So
It goes all around, and
it's gonna be kind of a full circle moment.
It
for
is going to
sure.
be kind of like that full circle.
We're kind of
No
in-
holes in the
We're
circle.
kind of in a circle.
How full is the circle?
The circle is going to be as full as the circle is full.
So he's gonna be kind of more circular as opposed to round. And
One
with
could
my
argue.
selection here, when I take that third overall pick, am I gonna be getting that fourth one as well?
You are going to be getting sort of that snake kind of pick.
That snake. Okay. So given that I do have the 3 and the 4 here, just kind of cover all my bases here, make sure the borders are secure. With that third pick, I'm gonna take ice, just the whole immigration kind of thing. I think that's gonna be a solid selection.
That was a great analysis. And
Just
and
just
sort
kind
of
of keep
sort of a
keep
great
you know
a great pick
kind of
there.
keep an order in the jurisdiction. You know, kind of make sure the juxtaposition of everything is secure. So kind of define the borders here. So
And what about the penultimate of everything? Would you say that that's up to standard? Subpar?
I mean,
Above
I don't
par?
know how up the standard is. We can up the standard.
We can.
So I mean, depends how the standard is standard.
Can we raise the bar, or is the bar set?
Or are you talking about physically raising the bar or
I mean, where is the bar?
Physically, metaphorically, figuratively, and literally.
Because I haven't seen the bar, so I'm just curious. Where is the bar?
it's everywhere.
The bar?
It's an internal thing, but it's
The
also
bar
an external
exam?
thing that you can
No,
see.
just the bar. Where is
the
it?
bar.
No, I'm just asking
So
where.
now the royal we does hold that bar. So we set the bar.
But I'm kind of just like more geographically speaking. Where's the bar?
He's gonna be where he is
There's plenty of places where
at
it
his
can be found.
location.
Plenty of places where it can be found, but I don't want to give too much away. You know, the bar is something that people want to scavenge for because there's many ways someone can view the bar.
And we could lower it, we could raise it, but the bar is just gonna be there.
And why don't you go on with your next pick here?
With that fourth pick.
With that fourth pick of the draft, second pick of your draft.
I mean, given that we're gonna be taking ice in general, for this ice draft here with my fourth pick, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a nice pink tulip. It
does the job.
the job gets done.
The job gets done.
I don't think we need to speak more about it. I'm sure you two understand where I'm coming from.
I do understand where you're coming from, and I do understand where the from is coming, and I I just appreciate that.
And he
shit.
came.
More than likely.
Wow.
Now
He came.
that does put me in a tough position here for my next pick. I am gonna be in sort of a position that's not very favorable for many.
Is it looking kind of trappy, drawish?
It's gonna be a trappy position here. Yeah. So with my next pick, I am going to pick the icicle. And the icicle is one of those guys who, he's going to be hanging off of roofs, windshields, windows,
Roofs.
grooves, different things like that in sort of that nature. He's going to be in nature himself.
But he is man-made though, depending on the circumstance.
In the circumstance that I am mentioning, he is not going to be made by the man. He's going to be made
by a woman.
He's going to be made by Mother Nature.
Okay. Right.
So yes, to answer your question, yes, made by a woman. Sorry, there are a few hooligans.
Wow. What are the odds?
Hooligans in the
I
back.
mean, it looks like
It looks like they're drinking.
they're destroying box water.
It looks like they're destroying box water. It does look like that. And
that's what it looks like.
And sorry, we're just gonna have to. Sorry, just in case you guys didn't catch it earlier, Mountain Valley sponsor of the video. Use code 156 to get 0% off your first order and a $5 surcharge to support the channel. Just making sure that we make sure boxed water can't win. Make sure that they are destroyed to the ground. Make sure that their building crashes into the plane.
Yeah, for sure.
And then shall I continue with my
Absolutely.
my
And you may.
And this ice pick is going to be a little bit different from my first pick, and from all of your picks.
A little
because
different, yes.
I'm gonna not take something that's more man-made and more natural. It's going to be something that's corporations do. It's sold. It's physically sold. But with that being said, with my second pick of the ice draft, I'm going to be taking Icy Hot.
Ooh, that's a good selection.
It's a great
That's a
selection.
fantastic selection. And could you kind of describe to our viewers how Icy Hot works, just as a product?
Wow.
So for athletes, I pulled that one out of the bag, deep in the bag, and
How deep is the bag?
pretty deep.
The bag's deep.
And just for a more quantitative answer for those of our audience who enjoy that more, how deep is the bag?
It's deep.
I appreciate that.
I mean, that was more of a qualitative answer. We were kind of speaking more
Quantitative, number-wise.
number-wise.
If you could put a number on it,
If I
and
could
if
put a
you
number
need,
scale, I'd
if
say-
you need a calculator, Mr. Co-host Luke does have a calculator.
Would you like a calculator?
I'm good for now because I can really imagine already with the
For
scale,
now.
with the scale it's on.
And how about later? Will you need that calculator?
I don't think so.
Thank you for letting us know.
I'm not very fond of math and fond of calculators, so I'm gonna just put it on the scale of 10 because the bag was very deep when I was looking for that answer. And Icy Hot, to reiterate and talk about its purpose and its in our world today for sports athletes. Sports athletes all three of us, we can speak. We were all very good athletes, and if we didn't quit our careers, we could have easily gone Division One.
Yeah, if
Phenomenal.
I didn't blow out my knee, if Luke didn't blow out his knee,
and if I didn't blow out my back,
his back, yeah, you know,
It's kind of unfortunate. We all had hoop dreams, you know. But
It's-
but back in '97, you know,
It's
we were
part
the
of the-
top three in our respective.
But
it's,
we
blocks.
are
it's part of
still-
that. It's part of that process. He's gonna be in that processing league. I mean, you know, it's part of the process.
and you know, if Icy Hot is particularly a new revelation in our world today, and I think if all three of us were able to be exposed to that back in our days, then we would have been Division One and possible NBA players, because the Icy
For
Hot
sure.
really is something that's used for sports athletes who experience injuries. It's sort of
Icy hot.
it sort of decompresses your body. It makes all the soreness go away, and I think that's what my product needs right now.
Yeah.
Because back when I was in the junior professional cricket league, when I did blow out that knee for the 5th time, we didn't have Icy Hot available, which kind of did,
That's
you know,
what I just
it was
said.
not on your
it
shelves.
limited my, no, it wasn't on the show. We kind of limited my medical options here. Like, I wish I could have continued playing cricket, right?
You wish.
I wish, and
But
you
you
can
can't.
wish.
But and if there was a genie, would you wish for Icy Hot to be available back in your cricket days, in your junior league cricket days when you know you didn't blow out your knee yet?
I mean, I would wish for more wishes.
But you can't wish for everything, because you ultimately can't get everything you wish for. Life lesson of the day.
What if I wish for more
And
wishes?
now, famous rapper Eminem did say, "You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime."
And that's gonna be off his Diamond record. It's gonna be that 2005 song "Lose Yourself."
And you know, speaking about blow, I would like to share how I did hurt my back. More like I blew out my back from.
Please explain.
So I was playing football one day, and all of a sudden I'm throwing the football. I fake the pass, and then I run and tuck, and all of a sudden I'm running. It's a non-contact injury, and I just
And those are gonna be the worst.
Those are going to be the worst. They're going to be
contacts are brutal. Let me tell you, brutal.
and why don't you just go in with your next pick?
I mean, I think that was his next.
I think that.
And you do
I think
get
that
two.
con-
You do get two
I think that
picks here.
concludes the draft. No.
You do get 2 picks
Oh,
here.
Okay.
You do get a second pick.
So
here.
let's take my third pick.
This is going to be your third pick,
My
correct?
third pick. I'm glad I could correct you on the mistake, but you know, my third pick, I'm gonna go with icy.
Like
The-
the,
the con-
slushy.
No, the conditions are icy.
Like an icy road.
But it
An
depends
icy
on the
road,
conditions.
an
for
icy
sure.
mountain, for example. When you ski, you don't want to have icy conditions, and getting rid of those icy
Icy ice.
conditions really allow for my iceberg to flourish,
And-
allow
and
for
can
my
you-
icy hot to really flourish.
And can you really explain some of those conditions?
Those conditions, whenever the roads, whenever the mountains are icy, it's very rough to function.
You're going to need to check those conditions to make sure that this is a random sample from the population. You're going to need to make sure that it is less than 10% of the entire population, or if this is an experiment that you mentioned that in your conditions.
But
And-
it depends on how conditioned he is. Because if he could need conditioning, the conditions could kind of shift. and
It's kind of
we kinda don't wanna be under that
conditional. It's kind of
condition.
going to be conditional on the condition of the conditioning.
But my pick
That's
icy.
one way to put it.
But my pick icy, you know, it is conditioned. Especially for me, I whenever I see the conditions of icy being,
He's going to have that conditioning.
yeah,
correct?
the conditioning is conditioning. I'll tell you that.
And does he condition the hair in that hair conditioner kind of lead?
You know, what I like to do for my pick of icy is keep the conditioner away, because it's already outside.
It's a little condescending. Huh?
It's already outside all the time. It's already getting the nutrients from our lovely air that our trees produce, and
And do the trees produce the air, or do the air produce the trees?
I think it goes both ways.
They kind of go.
Fantastic.
They
point there.
kind of go hand in glove.
Oh, for
there,
sure.
You know, they
It's gonna be that size
It's
medium.
the hand in glove, just like O.J. Simpson.
I mean, that was a size small.
and I mean the glove didn't fit, so he couldn't acquit.
Yeah.
But it was that's because it was gonna be a size small glove with a size medium hand.
And
Could
that's
have
why we
went
did.
about that better.
That's why we did not go hand in glove there.
Because
We could have gone about that
A
better.
hand
Yeah.
glove would be like size medium.
Size
If they're
medium
both
to a
size
medium
medium,
But, you know-
across, like extra medium as well.
You know, yeah.
And now, if you went to a fast food restaurant, would you order a dehydrated water with a side of no ice, extra medium, hole in the ice?
You know what I'm telling them? I'm going to stick with my pick of icy. I'm going to tell them, make my water extra icy.
Mm.
Because my icy is really a foundation in my program. it really plays a big part in my program. I don't want to lose
I
that in any way. I want to
like
be
that.
using IC
I like that.
as a
you
core
like it?
piece in my
I
my
like that.
program. And
Yeah.
I think
Now-
you get one more selection.
Yeah, and now with my pick here, I'm gonna pick conventional pick here. He's gonna be pretty conventional. I'm gonna stay away from the unconventional pick.
Which convention was he performing in?
The convention conglomerate.
Oh, the conglomerate.
Was
Oh,
it
I was there
conglomerate?
Were you there last weekend?
I was there last week there.
Oh, Andrew, were you there?
I wasn't.
You weren't there at the.
Ah!
I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but I'd love to come next time because I heard it was in all the way in Albania.
No, it was pretty far, but we just did make the overnight flight and we were able to get there on time.
Yeah.
Oh, what do we think of Albania?
God forbid.
It wasn't your cup of tea. Did you have tea in Albania?
It wasn't my cup of tea.
Because he uses more of a bottle type of thing. So,
Yeah.
So kind of the cup, he kind of fashioned out the cup. So it
And
could be
now
more
I
just
am
bottle
just
of
gonna
tea.
make my next pick here. And like I said, conventional pick from the conventional conglomerate. I'm going to pick climate change.
Climate change.
Because he's going to be that guy that's melting the polar ice caps and melting kind of the icebergs that Andrew did select earlier at the 1-1 overall pick. And he's just going to be that guy.
And they were saying he's a liberal hoax. Kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with that.
You don't
I
agree
don't
with
agree
that?
with that.
You don't agree with they were saying?
I don't agree
How
with
about
they.
them?
I don't agree with them either. I don't agree with they or them. And I think they, them as a whole is just pretty unagreeable in that sort of sense. You know, we have the 5 senses: taste, smell, touch, hearing, and
I think that was fun.
Michelle's gonna need to get fired. This is not sustainable.
That pains me.
I mean, she is on a 10-day.
And she is on a 10-day, and that 10-day contract, once it expires,
She has 10 days.
We're not renewing it.
boot it out the door.
So I'm being waived. Tooted and booted. Can I waive back?
Depends.
If you want.
Okay. We'll see.
If you're comfortable with it.
We'll see.
There's some sort of uncomfortableness. But before Miss Michelle was really interrupting, now there are some African tribes who count like this, so this would be 5, and that's sort of the way I was counting there.
Oh, no, you're perfectly fine. I completely understand where you were counting from. Because, you know, the way they'd count, they'd go like, you know,
They
1,
or
2.
them?
I mean, they slash.
No.
So it'd be kind of like a 1, 2, 3, skip a few, 4, 5. So then we have the 5 on this hand.
Ah.
And the same with you. You know, you go 1, 2, 3, skip 4, and then you kind of have 7. So that kind of adds up to what you were saying. 7 plus 7 is going to be that 14. Square root of 14 is going to be that 3.46 repeating.
Let them out.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you'd like to calculate that, please let me know.
And I think the calculator would like to calculate that, but I think calculators had enough calculating for a calculating day.
But it's
why
going to be a calculus.
tongue
It's going to be a calculus class, though.
And I would just like to let you make your last selection here.
My last selection.
Please.
So given that I should be making a pick in the ice draft, you know, it only makes sense that I take the ice pick. Now, you know, depending on the conditions of the ice, it could be conditional, he could not be conditioned, but what we are going to be really focusing on here is trying to pick away at that ice. You know, you see the icicle, you know, coming down. You're going to pick at that. You see the icebergs.
Oh, he
you know,
picks. He picks so
and
strong.
it's going to be one of those picks that got picked. So.
And it's going to be one of those picks that got picked in the ice pick draft pick.
But which pick was the draft in?
James Harden.
No, because I see where you're coming from with James here, but
Luke Babbitt as well.
Luke Babbitt,
Luke Mabama Ute.
grass
Luke Cornett.
equals infinity.
Good.
Which kind of ties back into it because
And it kind of does tie back into sort of that whole trolley incident, how
Yeah.
those people are tied to the problem.
It's tragic.
And Andrew, would you like to answer the trolley question for us?
I'd love to.
So the question for those that aren't familiar, if there's 6 people, you know, tied down to a
Train
train track, and there's a lever, and if you flick the lever, it goes to the other train track.
That has only
There's
one person.
only one person tied to it,
Do you pull
and they're gonna be tied down.
You know, I studied this in one of my classes.
They can't move.
Do you pull the lever?
No,
You don't pull the lever.
Why don't you pull the lever?
because I care about those other people. There's more people that need to be accounted for.
Well, you know that if you don't pull the lever, then 6 people are going to be killed that are tied
And the
down
6
to the
people
problem.
that need to
But
be
then what about
accounted
the
for,
one person?
you're going to be held accountable because you're the one counting them.
So
You know
then-
there's 6.
So then I'm pulling.
And you counted them,
So
and
then
you're
I
going to be that accountant.
I want
type
to
of
save the
person.
6.
You're gonna save the 6.
I want to.
Well, pulling the lever does make you directly responsible for the death of one.
The death of one is okay. Obviously, I don't want the death.
But I mean, if you don't,
anyone.
if you don't pull the lever, then you're not responsible for the death of 6. You may be accounted for, but you're not responsible.
But did you account for it? Was it accountable?
Possibly.
I don't think he was held.
Did we count it though?
Holding people accountable is huge.
And that's going to be a 10-yard penalty, so kind of sort of tying back to how Patrick Mahomes should
he needs more flags.
He needs more flags.
More flags.
Sure.
More flags.
Especially a division rival. I see it from a division rival fan standpoint because obviously my team is in that division.
The Chargers.
The Chargers,
The Chargers.
It really pains me to see
with Lad McConkey and
Lad McConkey is an
Justin
absolute
Herbert,
dog. Justin Herbert, J.K.
half of
Dobbins.
Joey Bosa.
And I don't want to speak
kind of Joe Alt there as well.
I don't want to speak about Quentin Johnson because Quentin Johnson is a disgrace to humanity, and I really don't think he should have a job next year because he's one of the worst wide receivers I've seen play football. And sorry for my sidetrack there, but
he receives though. He's gonna be the receiver.
I just think he's a little too flashy for my taste.
You think so? You think he celebrates a little bit?
Little
and
too
when
much.
people are too flashy,
And does he play with the chains on?
He does play the chain on. I mean, he did do a backflip after he caught his first pass since the dinosaurs were wiped out by that big meteor 65 million years ago.
That tore our world apart, if I must say.
For sure, absolutely.
And it definitely felt had a void in our world.
For sure, and it's going to be more of a crater, kind of, with the asteroid, and what it kind of comes into, you have to account for one of my favorite saying, pressure makes diamonds.
And it does
Pictures
make diamonds.
paint themselves, That's kind of the way the picture is
Kind of
painted.
how one picture is worth 1,000 words.
And then, but see, it's not gonna be linear. It's gonna be exponential. One picture is worth 1,000 words. 2 pictures is worth 2,500 words.
sure.
Which means that one video at 30 frames per second would mean that a 1 second video
It's
gonna
a million words.
It's gonna be about 750,000 to a million words.
That's a great analysis. And why don't we just pick up with one of these questions by one of our 56er fans?
The 56ers?
Yeah, and I do just have like a quick question here.
And what's the question?
And then the question is, if you are a type of weather would you be weather?
Oh, look, which day?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Not obtuse?
But the right triangle kind of shadows obtuse.
He does kind of go 90 acute.
And what do you think?
I love my Thursday.
Thursday?
You love your Thursday?
In which shape? Are you going to be taking orange or yellow?
I'm gonna go with yellow.
Yellow.
So it was on the tip of my tongue to say orange, but I stuck with yellow.
On the tip of that tongue?
Yeah.
And the tongue is going to be frozen to that sort of like cold pole out in the North and South Pole. Sorry, I just messed up Big Michael over here. And it's just going to be sort of that kind of tying back those people down to the trolley problem.
And they are tied down. They can't move.
They can't move. They are immobile.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Andrew did account for them. They have been counted. We know it's 6 versus 1.
They have been held accountable.
And they're held down to the tracks.
And they are held down to the tracks.
They can't move.
And they have absolutely no mobility. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. Big thank you to our special guest Andrew here.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you
We
guys
really
for
appreciate having
you.
you
I
on
really
this
appreciate
podcast.
this opportunity to be a special guest on this 156 podcast.
And we appreciate you taking that opportunity
And I'm so excited to
jumping
see.
onto it.
I'm so excited to see where this podcast continues to grow and
For sure.
make and reach new heights in the world.
Yeah.
That we call the world.
Because just basically when we kind of put the podcast on the iceberg, it's going to kind of be going up. We did get the Icy Hot, so you can kind of see how the podcast can grow.
And I would just like to say Icy Hot does have his manic highs and lows, his colds and hots.
But I would, if the podcast continues to flourish, I would love to see Icy Hot become a sponsor for
we could try.
But that's going to be quite the conundrum because
it is gonna
Icy
be a
Hot and
conundrum.
Mountain Valley, they're in a bit of a legal battle.
Yeah.
I did sign the NDA. We can't speak too much about it, but I don't know how soon that's going to
The jargon is going to be a little bit
elongated.
predisposed.
I'm very adamant about my Icy Hot being a sponsor for this 156 podcast, so I'm going to try to battle for that and go to bat for it.
And
We'll
did
fight.
you sign the NDA or no?
I didn't.
So if you'd like to tell our viewers kind of the legal battle.
And I don't think that we should mention that information here.
I think
I'm
maybe
not saying
we can wait for that next time because
I
I
don't think that should.
I don't want to speak too much. Even I haven't signed the NDA, but I still wanna
Oh, you
be
kind of want to
right.
hold the integrity.
I want to hold the
Yeah.
integrity of ICL
Yeah.
because
And
I have
we
so
should
much
do that. We
respect
should
for it,
do
and I
that,
think that could be for another time. Not
and,
today.
and it's gonna be another day's battle. It's a different bridge to cross for
But once
another
again, thank you guys for having me on. I'd love
Thank
to
you.
be.
Thank you
I'd
for
love to
being
be
here.
on when the time is right again.
For sure, of course.
When the time permits, we will definitely
For
have you
sure.
on again.
I appreciate you guys' generosity, and I'm flattered to be here.
Of course.
Appreciate it, and I hope you guys' viewers will enjoy
I
this
hope
to
all the
maximum.
viewers enjoyed it.
I hope all the viewers view this.
And we'll see you
podcast.
guys in the next episode.
Thank you guys.